thirst, refuse to waste our lives for your joy and prize. To see the captives' hearts released, the hurt, the sick, the poor at peace. We lay down our lives for heaven's cause. We are the church. We pray, revive this earth. Let your kingdom here, let the darkness fill. Show your mighty hand, heal our streets and land. Set your church on fire, win this nation back. Change the atmosphere, build your kingdom here, we pray. Unleash your kingdom's power, reaching the near and far. No force of hell can stop your beauty changing cause. You made us so much more than this. Awake the kingdom seed in us, fill us with the strength and love of Christ. We are the truth, we are the whole on earth. Build your kingdom here, let the darkness free. Show your mighty hand, heal our streets and land. Set your church on fire, win this nation back. Change the atmosphere, build your kingdom here, we pray. Build your kingdom here, let the darkness fear. Show your mighty hand, heal our streets and land. Set your church on fire, win this nation back. Change the atmosphere, build your kingdom here, we pray.
You can stay standing. We're going to change things up a little bit for how we normally do service. So stay standing. We're going to keep singing. 1, 2, 3. He's our rescuer. He's our rescuer. We are free from sin forevermore. Oh, how sweet the sound. Oh, how grace abounds. We will praise the Lord, our rescuer. There is good news for the captive, good news for the shamed. There is good news for the one who walked away. There is good news for the doubter, the one religion failed. For the good Lord has come to seek and save. He's our rescuer, he's our rescuer. We are free from sin forevermore. Oh, how sweet the sound, oh, how grace abounds. We will praise the Lord, our rescuer. He is beauty for the blind man, riches for the poor. He is friendship for the one the world ignores. He is pasture for the weary, rest for those who strive. Oh, the good Lord is the way, the truth, the life. Yes, the good Lord is the way, the truth, the life. He's our rescuer, he's our rescuer. We are free from sin forevermore. Oh, how sweet the sound, oh, how grace abounds. We will praise the Lord, our rescuer. So come and be chainless, come and be fearless. Come to the foot of Calvary. There is redemption affliction here at the foot of Calvary. One more time, so come and be chainless. Come and be chainless. Come and be fearless. Come to the foot of Calvary. There is redemption for every affliction here at the foot of Calvary. He's our rescuer. He's our rescuer. We are free from sin forevermore. Oh, how sweet the sound. Oh, how grace abounds. We will praise the Lord, our rescuer. We will praise the Lord, our rescuer. This alabaster jar is all I have of worth. I break it at your feet, Lord. It's less than you deserve. You're far more beautiful, more precious than the oil, the sum of my desires and the fullness of my joy. Like you spilled your blood, I spill my heart as an offering to my King. Here I am, take me as an offering. Here I am, give me every heartbeat for your glory. Take me. This time that I have left is all I have of worth. I lay it at your feet, Lord. It's less than you deserve. And though I've little strength, and though my days are few, you gave your life for me, so I will live my life for you. Like you spilled your blood, I spill my heart as an offering to my King. Here I am, take me as an offering. Here I am, giving every heartbeat for your glory. it's a winding road. It's all bent from a heavy load. Feel the weight beneath the ground. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. Oh my Lord, I can barely sing, waiting for you and your reckoning. Angels humming, can you hear the sound? Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. I will rise, I will rise, I will rise, I will rise. Troubles come for everyone. Death has no respect for love. Roll that stone, I won't be found. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. Lord, I'm crooked from head to toe. Got dirty hands and a dirty soul. I was lost, but now I'm found. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. I will rise. 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 Troubles come for everyone. Death has no respect for love. Roll that stone, I won't be found. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. Feel the weight beneath the ground. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. I will rise, I will rise, I will rise, I will rise. Troubles come for everyone. Death has no respect for love. Roll that stone, I won't be found. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. Whoa. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. Ain't no grave gonna hold me down. Amen. All right, at this time, say hi to the people around you, and then kids that are here, you're going to come up for children's service right after greet time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys this morning? Good. Quiet. Do you guys know what's going on this week? What's going on? Do you guys know why we're wearing these robes and these hats?
It's graduation Sunday.
It's graduation Sunday, and we're graduating later this week. How many of you guys go to North Muskegon? All of you? Most of you? Most of you? Well, most of us have gone to North Muskegon for 13 or 14 years. Can you believe that? And on Wednesday, it's our last day of school ever at North Muskegon, which is a little scary. And on Friday, we graduate. So that's interesting.
So with us graduating, it's kind of like you close one door and you open another. So this is our step into the next chapter of our lives, basically. But have you guys ever felt like you don't know what's ahead? You're not sure what you're doing at any time? You just know what you're doing all the time. Feels good. Well, for us, that's kind of how a lot of us are feeling right now. You're not sure what the next step is ahead. But when you're feeling that way, there is one thing that you can turn to guide you in the right direction. Do you guys know what that is? Jesus, that's right. Got smart kids this morning. So if you guys are ever feeling lost or confused or just not sure where you're going or what's going on, Jesus you can turn to, and he can answer you through prayer.
So as you guys are growing up, just remember that Jesus will look out for you and that he will guide you. So if you ever have any questions, just turn to him, and he'll always be there for you.
And as we've grown up in this church, and as we used to be like you guys coming up here for the Sunday and the children's message at church, and now we are the big kids leading it, it's kind of crazy, but we've grown up in this church, and that's what we've learned. We've learned that we can't really know what's happening next. It's like the first day of school. You guys don't really know, like, maybe some people will be there. What if there's a new kid? What if my teacher is really weird? What if she smells? All that sort of stuff. You don't know what's going to happen, but you know what Jesus knows? What? You get candy? Oh, well, you get candy, and Jesus will be there with you through it all. So let's bow our heads and pray. Dear God, thank you for this Sunday. Thank you for all the kids up here. And thank you for guiding us throughout our last 18 years here in North Muskegon. Help us to be your hands and hearts as we go off after graduation this Friday, which seems completely crazy. Help us as we move out of North Muskegon or stay here, and help us to do your work here. Now let's pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
I'm going to walk over here because I'm not going to announce to Matt because Matt's, I don't know what he's doing over there. So I'm coming over here because it's weird over there. So anyway, it's not weird. I mean, it's weird to stand over there to talk to just one person. Over here, there's all these other people to talk to. So I'm coming over here. So I want to share a few announcements with you. And if you hopefully grabbed a bulletin on the way in, not just because the announcements, but there's some great things said about our graduates, both those that can be here this morning and those that are not, just to get to know them a little bit. So encourage you to take a moment to go through it. And I'm going to walk through a couple things. First of all, a couple things that are not explicitly called out in there. Tomorrow, for those that helped with the Moon School, there is a luncheon. And if you're interested and able to be a part of that as a thank you to you, then please see Margene. Yes, 1:30. Okay. And you can come over and they'd like to recognize some folks with that. So thank you to everybody that did participate with that. Also, our small groups are starting up. We're starting this series of this trimester kind of idea. So this first trimester is kind of starting up with small groups. So many are kicking off this week. So make plans to be a part of whatever one you committed to signing up for. And I'm guessing, I didn't ask anybody, but I'm guessing if you forgot to sign up, you can probably still sign up for the groups. So please seek that out. So now I'm going to quickly walk through some things that I think are appropriate to really share this morning as we honor our graduates, because they're about how we can raise money for ASP, for the Appalachian Service Project mission trip, and it's a big thing for these guys. And how did I get emotionally available? Anyway, good enough. So if you've got junk, if you've not been up to home base, there's a lot of junk up there. Not junk, it's good junk, it's good stuff. It was one person's junk, and it'll be someone else's treasure. So go through and find whatever you consider junk in your house, donate it for that youth yard sale, and then make plans to come and find who could possibly have called these things junk that you absolutely have to have in your house so that we can help. It's one of the biggest fundraisers for our mission trip. And then I also want to call out this big page here, Flamingo Flocking. So take a moment, read through it. If you've never been a part of our Flamingo fundraiser, I think it's the funnest fundraiser we do as a church, having the flamingos kind of bounce all around North Muskegon and beyond. You can buy insurance to try to keep them away. You can send them to your friend, enemy, whatever. You can try to go higher than their insurance and make sure it gets there. But it's all in there with the details. The important part is it's fun. And it's a good, fun way to raise some money. And you can get involved with it at very low dollar amounts. So we'd encourage everybody to maybe buy some insurance so that those that are sending have to pay a little more to make that go a little further. So take a moment and read through that. And then I'm going to have you flip back just one other page. Because like our youth said, they didn't start here. They started at these ages. And it's rapidly approaching that we'll have our Vacation Bible School coming up. So there's some great information about that that works with our kids of this age so that hopefully they grow up in the church and they get to know what it's all about and that it can be fun and can be a part of that so that they can come and eventually someday stand here on graduation Sunday themselves. So that's what I have to share, and Matt's going to lead us in prayer.
All right, I'm leaving the weird side too.
Okay.
You can go back to the weird side.
I'm going back to the weird side.
All right, I'll be there in a minute. Well, good morning again, everybody. It's my honor to come to you for prayer time in the service, a time where we can lift up prayer requests to those in our congregation, for those that we know, those who are struggling, those who need healing, those who need encouragement. Are there any requests out there this morning? Rick? Absolutely. Yep. Thank you. It's a change in life doesn't just happen right now. It it happens all throughout your life. And one of the things that I like to tell my students as they're graduating is, if there's a hint of sadness, it's because you enjoyed something. So when you're leaving something and there's sadness there. But at the same time, I hope that there's joy and excitement for the next step. And that's always what I hope for everybody in life who I run into, is that you're living life and doing things that lead to a bit of sadness when those moments are done, but that there's always a level of joy and excitement for the next step that you're stepping into. So thank you, Rick, for sharing that. Did you have something? Any other prayers this morning? Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. Congratulations. Any other prayers? Well, then let's lift up those prayers to the Holy One. Oh, Father, we come to you this morning, and we come to you with sadness. We come to you with joy. We come to you with asks for healing. We come to you with asks for peace and comfort. In all the events that we have in life, Lord, that change where we're going, that change who we are, we just pray for your strength and your guidance. In the loss of loved ones, in the receiving of loved ones here on earth. We just thank you for who you are. We know that we can find our strength in you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Kim?
Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning to help honor our graduates. We have an amazing group of people that we're going to be talking about today. These are young people that have been so influential on our youth ministry, so influential in our ASP team, in our ASP ministry, and you'll hear quite influential on myself and Kim and those of us that are leading Nick. And Pastor Jeremy has gotten a chance to know some of you this through ASP and some other ways. But it's an amazing group. And I want to start by talking about our college graduates, and that's why they're up on the screen right now. We don't have any of them representing us today. We had one in the first service, but they're all off doing their own things. And what makes this group kind of special to us is it was the first group. The first group that we greeted as youth as freshmen, and we watched them grow through 4 years of high school and then now 4 years of college. So these kids that are graduating this year and some of them next year are pretty special to the youth ministry. They've left a legacy that these guys benefited from, just the way these guys have left a legacy for the kids that are coming behind them. And I know that some of these folks were inspiration to you just the way you are inspiration to the younger kids. So thank you for what you've done for that. So if we go through these real quickly, I want to recognize them and make you aware of J-Team doesn't stop when these guys graduate from high school. Quite honestly, it doesn't stop when they graduate from college. They're part of the J-Team for the rest of their life, whether they like it or not. So go ahead. Kelly Booz. Many of you know Kelly and the Booz family. Kelly is an amazingly talented young lady. She's been part of our ASP team from the very beginning. She's also served on staff at ASP. She went on to Hope College and became very much involved in the school and in the community. She couldn't be here today because she's leading worship in a church down in Holland. She's looking for work as a teacher. That's her hope for the next step of her life. Next slide is Justin Fairfield. Justin also went to Hope College. Justin and his brother Riley have been important parts of our youth ministry, and the Fairfield family has been a huge support to us. And Justin did an outstanding job at Hope. He played football there. He became an All-American, a captain of his team. He led that football team in his junior and senior year. He's just a fine young man. Go ahead. Anna Osborne. If you know Anna, you know her enthusiasm and her energy and her smile. Anna took Michigan State by storm, as near as I can tell it. She got involved in many things in the school and in the community. You saw her pictures with Tom Izzo and with Sparty, and she became a Spartan through and through, and we congratulate her. Next slide is Sydney Seifert. Sydney is a graduate from the University of Michigan. Sid was on our early ASP teams and part of the youth ministry early. And again, while she wasn't necessarily participating later in her high school career, and it's just a demonstration of a kid that we continue to love and pray for. So thank you. Next one is Jake Walton. Jake is an amazing young man of faith. He took his faith from North Muskegon to Grand Valley and became part of some of the youth ministry programs there and the mission programs at Grand Valley. He lives his faith as nobody I've ever met. And Jake was recently married, celebrated a wedding, and wonderful pictures. And we wish him all the best. Travis Webster. Travis was one of our true bright stars as a high school student. Just bright and challenging, and had a lot of fun. And when he went on to Western, go Broncos. That's my alma mater. So I'm really proud of Travis. Travis got involved with a business program there and became a leader in that business program, became sought after by employers. He is a representative that went out to different job fairs and things representing Western Michigan University. An amazing career at Western. So we congratulate him as well. I guess what I'd like to do, if those of you that are here would please recognize our college graduates with a round of applause and say, we are proud of them, and we will be following you guys as you go on to the next steps in your life as well. I know, Nick, you wanted to say something to these guys before we pass on the microphone on to Matt. So.
I think everybody here sees me around, knows me. Nick Bartman, my wife Chelsea in the back. Nate, not exactly what I do. I'm getting involved now, being a new youth leader. Part of that kind of brought a challenge for me as we bring all the graduates here, and I thought, what are all the memories I have? What are all the memories I have? And I want to share with everybody. And having just started this, I don't have a lot of memories. Of course, ASP. It's a chance where I got to meet you. And so there was something I realized as I thought about this, and I didn't share it in the first message, but I realized I didn't have a message for everybody else in the term about all the wonderful memories I have. But more importantly, I wanted to thank you directly, specifically you. A little of our past as we came to the church a few years ago, and we're looking around for a church. The first day we come in, Judy, hi, it's nice to meet you, and how important that was. And so we came back and we kept coming and we kept coming. And I saw this thing, ASP, go somewhere, build some stuff. Build some stuff? I love building stuff. But what made that special? And what made that special is I went to the meetings and started learning about what is ASP. Construction or relationship ministry with construction on the side, as we say. I went on the trip. I didn't know what to expect. Jump in the car with a bunch of high schoolers and off we go. And at that point, we didn't even have kids. But during that week, we had a lot of messages about God and meeting the people there. And what I found God in you guys. So welcoming and so open. And I think that has been a critical part of my path of getting closer to God and becoming more involved in the youth group is because of you and because of that trip. So I wanted to say very personally thank you. And I want you to realize that in 4 years when we look back and go, you guys graduated college and that's awesome, and the people before you that have looked up to you, that it isn't just them. your seniors and your mentors and people, they look up to you and you bring them closer to God. So again, deep from my heart, thank you and congratulations, and keep walking forward on this path, because I know you all do wonderful things. Thank you.
Packing up the dreams God planted in the fertile soil of you. I can't believe the hopes He's granted means a chapter in your life is through. But we'll keep you close as always. It won't even seem you've gone, 'cause our hearts in big and small ways will keep the love that keeps us strong. And friends are friends forever if the Lord's the Lord of them. And a friend cannot say never, 'cause the welcome will not end. Though it's hard to let you go, in the Father's hands we know that a lifetime's not too long to live as friends. With the faith and love God's given, springing from the hope we know, we will pray the joy you're living is the strength that now you show. But we'll keep you close as always. It won't even seem you've gone, 'cause our hearts in big and small ways will keep the love that keeps us strong. And friends are friends forever if the Lord's the Lord of them. And a friend cannot say never, 'cause the welcome will not end. Though it's hard to let you go, in the Father's hands we know that a lifetime's not too long to live as friends. And friends are friends forever if the Lord's the Lord of them. And a friend will not say never, 'cause the welcome will not end. Though it's hard to let you go, in the Father's hands we know that a lifetime's not too long to live as friends. No, a lifetime's not too long to live as friends.
We want to recognize our high school graduates, of course, today. And we have a special gift for each of them. And the gift bags that they're going to get today, kind of a tradition we've started here. They're each going to receive a children's book, which has become, anybody that's been a part of the youth group, and especially that has been able to participate with ASP trips, the children's books carry a little bit of a special meaning. Bedtime stories is an important tradition at ASP. Some of the books that they're receiving today have been part of those bedtime stories. Some of them have not. We've also given them a journal or the message that we've written in there, but we really hope that that you will use that to write something down. Write something down about your journey, about your struggles, about your triumphs. It'll be pretty amazing to look back on later, but write something down, because sometimes when you take time to write something down, that's when you help sort it out in your head. So we hope that you will do that. We won't. Some of them already received them earlier, but we wanted you all to know what was in those bags, what we're giving them. We have some pictures up there of Lauren Anderson. Lauren, can you come up for a second? So there's bios in your bulletin, and here's the thing: it's easy to it's easier to keep it brief when you know you got to keep it to a paragraph. And there's so many things that we want to say about each of these people. So it's hard to pick out. You give you a mic and you get to freelance a little bit, and it's a little bit hard to pick out what things to highlight. But if you're not aware of Lauren's incredible talent, you should be. And if you have looked at any of our recent ASP T-shirts or some of the amazing work on the walls up there, and that's just like a tiny glimpse into Lauren's talent. But what we're probably going to miss, I think, the most on Sunday nights, as we think back over the time at how she encourages others to find those gifts and those special things that they have inside themselves. So thank you for that. You can stand there. And I'm not sure who's next. I'm sorry, I don't know the order. Emma. To say any one of these people is talented is just an understatement, because they all are. So that just begins to sound redundant. But Emma, your passion in the ASP team and your just willingness to find the beauty in your words, the raw situations, that's something that's going to stick with a lot of us. Thank you for your leadership in that and for showing us how to be vulnerable and see that beauty. Lauren Ertman. It doesn't take very long at all to realize that Lauren has a heart to serve people. And you see that in her participation in the work that we've done as a youth group. You see that in the hours and hours that you spend caring for children outside of here. You seem happiest when you're serving other people, and that's something so special and such an inspiration to us. Thank you for sharing that with us. Chase isn't here. He was here earlier. Just watch for Chase. Watch for Chase out there and what he's going to do, because he doesn't give up. He has in his mind a goal, and he sets out for it, and it's going to be pretty exciting to see that unfold in his life. Grace. The fun thing about Grace is her enthusiasm is so evident in everything. One time I texted her a question, I think it was a recommendation for something, and she answered with a recommendation, but there were no exclamation points, and so I didn't believe that she really meant it, because Grace lives her life with a series of exclamation points. I want to be that passionate. I want to have that kind of energy and enthusiasm for the things that are important. Thank you for sharing that with us. Ben, one of the fun things about having Ben around on Sunday nights for our gatherings is just how incredibly steady he is. If there's work to be done, he's doing it. If we ask them to be, focused on the next thing, he's doing that. He's taking his time and analyzing. When we talk about a lesson, he fully engages, and he's just always there with that steady presence. And that's been an important piece as we welcome younger members in, because he's been able to model and interact with them and just set a tone, a positive tone in our Sunday evenings. So thank you, Ben. we did want to give a little update. Becca Wiepert couldn't be here today because she's actually graduating today. Her family moved up north, but the Wieperts were part of our church family for a number of years. And so we miss them greatly. We're super excited that Becca and her dad are still part of our ASP team. They're a big part of our ASP team. They're very important on that. And so we wish Becca all the best and wanted to update you, let you know that she's one of our graduates too. Thank you. Go ahead. I have a clicker here somewhere. So when Nick found out I was making a PowerPoint to share with you today, he was sure to remind me that the church service is much, much shorter than some of the 3-hour lectures I have to teach at Baker College. So I tried to heed that warning, but to be honest, there's a whole lot to say about these people because they're some pretty darn amazing people. But I want to share with you some of the things that I've learned over the last 8 years. Because, well, for one, I couldn't just hone in on one topic because that was far too hard to choose. So I'm just going to share with you things that this involvement with this ministry has taught me. And first of all, I've definitely learned that I'm not as much in control as I might have once liked to think that I am. My very first night, I think, that I showed up, and nobody's in the room here that was there that night, but I had this nice, neat lesson, and I was going to present that lesson, and lives were going to be changed. And it was going to go exactly how I planned. And it's so funny now to think about that. But I'm not as in control as much as I want to think. God's in control, and I'm really thankful for that because my lesson wasn't very good. The other thing I've learned is that no one is good at Flocky. No one. And I forgot to bring my pops down. But Flocky is a really fun game. Flocky is played kind of like hockey. There's a goal at each end, only instead of a puck, like on the ice, or a ball, like in field hockey, you use a ping pong ball. And instead of a hockey stick, you use a fly swatter. And if you're wondering, the timing of swinging a fly swatter against a slowly moving ping pong ball is a little bit difficult to master. And no one's good at it. And it's funny to watch. But the reason that's an important lesson is because sometimes it seems like everyone else is good at everything. Sometimes it seems like nobody else stumbles. And sometimes it seems like nobody else just flat out misses. And then you play Flocky, and you remember that nobody's good at Flocky, that everyone has a big swing and a miss, and it's okay. And you keep chasing the ping pong ball. So remember Flocky. I learned that it's absolutely okay to not be what everyone thinks is cool. It's okay to not know, I don't know, in my case, the words to the songs that everybody else knows. It's okay. And I didn't know that at one point, and I was terrified. You guys were scary, because I was pretty sure nobody was going to like me if I started doing this. Because I don't know the songs. I don't know. I wasn't going to fit in, and it wasn't going to be okay. But you taught me that it is. That it is okay. And the reason that it's okay is because what really, really matters isn't how we fit a stereotype. It isn't how we fit a mold. The reason that it's okay to be ourselves is because what really matters is how we love people. What really matters is how we love unconditionally. Maybe we express that unconditional love when we're hugging sweaty, disgusting, smelly people at 12:34 because that's hug break time. And we don't care. We love them anyway, even though they stink. Maybe it's when we don't care how they messed up. Maybe it's when we don't care that we don't even know them yet, because that's what unconditional love is. And that's what God calls us to. And that's what's important, not the rest of it. And it took you guys, I think, to teach me that. I learned not to assume. It's a really, really stupid idea to assume that someone else's life is easy. Most of our youth group members are from North Muskegon and go to North Muskegon School. And when you go out into the community, and this is something that they've expressed to me. I mean, I've heard it too, but they've told me this. They go out and everyone just assumes that our life is easy because we live in North Muskegon. So it must be, since we go to North Muskegon School, our house is perfect. We have perfect parents. We have a perfect life. We have a perfect yard. We get perfect grades. We're perfect at sports. Our parents are perfect. Our siblings are perfect. And above all else, we got to be perfect. That's what people think about us. Well, that's kind of dumb, don't you think? You ever feel like your life is completely perfect? Have you really felt that way? Do you feel like you've made no mistakes and your family's got it all just worked up and tied up neatly? Probably not. And then I saw how much that can be hurtful and how much pressure that adds on. These guys go out and they first of all, it's not fun to have people just assume stuff about you, is it? To assume that you've got all the money. It's not fun. To assume that you've got everything figured out. And then to have to try to live up to those expectations. So I learned something about that. To assume that somebody's life is easy, no matter what your reason it is for assuming it, is just not a good idea. Because you'll never know who they've just lost. You never know what kind of mistakes they're trying to recover from. You'll never know what kind of struggles are going on in their families. You'll never know how broken their family is. And you'll never know what they might be blaming themselves for, even if it's not their fault. Sometimes that's the worst one. You don't know. Don't make the assumption. Don't assume that somebody else's life is easy. And that's something I learned a lot working with these people. I learned that those people out there that talk about kids these days, teenagers these days, you know what I learned? I learned that those people probably don't or haven't ever really talked to any kids. I learned that anybody that grumbles about kids these days probably doesn't know any. And I'm certain that they don't know our kids. By the way, that whole kid thing, when I first started the first year, I asked them, I was like, all the youth group ministry books and all that call them students, or they call them youth, or they call them teens, and those words sound awkward. Is it okay to call you guys kids? They're like, yeah, we call ourselves kids. All right. So I call them kids, but they said it's okay, that I'm not being disrespectful. They didn't find it condescending, so I've gone with it. But anybody, and no, people don't usually do it to me anymore because I usually get kind of feisty, but anybody that wants to grumble about kids these days, they don't know our kids. Because the kids that I know, these kids come on a Sunday night when it's finally the break that they have, and they don't even have a break a lot of Sunday nights, but when they do have a break, they're willing to give their time to come to youth group. These kids go to Family Promise, and you know what they do? They not only cook, and they're actually really good cooks. That's kind of fun. They cook, and then they sit down and they have a meal with our guests at Family Promise because they don't care about the stereotypes. They sit down and say, hey, tell me about yourself. Or, can I get you a glass of milk? Or, let me hold that drooly, sticky child that just spilled juice all over themselves and may need a diaper change. The kids that I know show up and they connect with people because they're people and they just see people. And they don't build walls. The kids that I know give up a week of their summer, which is really short. Summer break seems like it's just getting shorter and shorter. Is that just me? I don't know. It seems like summer's gone. They give up a week of their break to go make houses warmer, safer, and drier. And along the way, those same stereotypes they throw out the window and they make connections and they want to meet people and know people on a real level. And it's hot, and it's dirty, and they work hard, and they share a sleeping quarters with 50 of their closest friends, and they show up and do it. Those are the kids I know. So generally, it's a bad idea to talk to me about how bad teenagers are these days, because I think that's dumb. just quite honestly. One thing I have learned, though, this is something true about kids these days. They can't be trusted with tape measures, so make sure you take an extra. They always disappear. Although I say that, the truth is, my toolbox has a significantly larger number, I think, of tape measures than maybe I have ever purchased, so maybe I'm the problem. I'm not sure. Another thing they've taught me is that we all need time to just catch our breath and to connect with somebody. I've always wanted to make sure that on Sunday nights, those 2 hours, that every minute counts. And I still think don't we want our lives to be that way? We want every minute to count, right? But I've learned something about what it means to count. If you ever volunteer to come share a meal with us, or just stop in, you might find time that it seems like we're not doing anything. It seems like we're talking. Yeah, we can eat food in 20 minutes. We can get our meal into our bodies in 20 minutes, and we go on and we could do that. But you know what? We take an hour. And I've learned that's important. If you're wondering, their calendar is not, I don't really think you guys put stuff on a calendar, and I'm pretty sure if you do, you don't look at it. Hence some of the texting conversations we've had. But if you look at their calendars, they're probably as busy as yours. Actually, that's not true. They're probably a lot busier than yours. They have a lot on their plate because they're doing good things, and they're very busy. And in the midst of all of that, they've shown me how important it is to take not just 20 minutes to put food into your body, but to actually sit down and connect with some people for a minute. So I've learned that. I learned you need to take a break from the expectations, take a break from the programming, take a break from the agenda, and just be together with somebody. I've learned that it's really important when you're praying and asking God to show you where your next step is, where you need to be useful. I've learned that it's really, really important to be careful about that. Because sometimes you pray that and you might get a phone call. And sometimes the phone call is going to be asking you to help with something that sounds terrifying. Sometimes a phone call might ask you to help with something like youth ministry that you think you don't fit the bill for. And then if you say yes, sometimes it might become a part of you. It might become who you are. And it might bring people into your life that become so special that you love them more than you ever thought you would. Sometimes when you pray that prayer, it can lead into something a lot bigger than you're bargaining for. So be careful about that. Because God has a plan when you pray that prayer. Okay? In Ephesians, Paul tells us that we're God's handiwork. Now, I looked in a couple different translations, and sometimes it says handiwork, sometimes it says masterpiece. The point is, God made you, and He made you carefully, and He made you beautifully, and He made you special. But in Ephesians, it says that we're His handiwork, that we're not just created to be beautiful, but we're created to do good works. And when he says created here, he's not just talking about from the beginning when he made you in the womb and created you as a human being, because that's true too. You know what he's talking about here? If you back this up a little bit in the Bible and you read it, he's talking about how you don't earn your salvation. You don't earn your place as God's child by doing good stuff. Rather, you're his child, and he makes you new. Through Jesus, you get to be made new. That's how you're formed into this beautiful masterpiece, this piece of handiwork. When you start on that journey and you start taking these little baby steps. Jeremy talked last week about how we grow into salvation, how it's not a is you is or is you ain't kind of thing. He talked about how we're always growing and we're always on that journey. And it's being on that path that equips us to do good works. We don't get to do something good and that gives us the ticket. But we're on the path, and now we're created new. We're made ready to do these good works. But what's really, really exciting is he's preparing the projects for us. it's not like we just start out and now that we're on the path, we're on the journey, we don't have to take on every opportunity that comes our way to serve. We don't have to take on every cause that's out there in the world, because there's a lot of them, and you're going to get really, really exhausted if you try to fix all of them at once. But instead, He's got a work that he's planning out for you, that he's preparing for you. And I think about this metaphor, and I need to be really careful here because I don't want to. It's one of these things where it's kind of funny. I don't want to take the metaphor too far and make it sound like I'm, trying to compare my actions with the amazing work that God does in our lives. But think about when you're doing projects with kids. If you know our family, our kids like to cook in the kitchen with us. And it's super special to us, and it's super fun. And just because they're on this path now and they're ready to start cooking, they don't need to start at the front of the cookbook and go to the back and do every single recipe. And that'd kind of be a dumb idea, right? When they're going to cook, the first, I make sure that we've got all the stuff prepared. Sometimes they have some recipes that I've retyped with very specific directions, and I've even like the mixer speed, mix it at this speed, and I go on and I've got it all set for them. I help them get the ingredients out. I make sure they've got all their equipment that they need. I kind of plan it out, and I get it ready. You wouldn't send an 8-year-old into the kitchen to make cookies without making sure everything's there and prepared and ready. They can't shop for the ingredients themselves. They can't do that. But we set it up for them. Or think about VBS. Stacy does crafts with the kids at VBS and has the last couple of summers. And if you know Stacy, she wouldn't just let them run in and go make something, right? She's got stations set up. She's got some of the stuff maybe cut out so that they can do it, so that it's appropriate for their abilities. God's working out projects that are appropriate for your abilities. He's preparing things ahead of time. And that's really comforting to me because I don't want that kind of pressure to think that, now you're ready, you're on a journey, do it all, fix it all. But sometimes it's hard to figure out what he's got ready. That's okay. That's hard for all of us. Sometimes what he's got prepared is for a season in your life. And you jump in and you do that and you know it's right. And then sometimes it's time for the next season. And there's a new thing, a new project. And your heart is going to be so filled with passion for that project when you find it. And you'll do it beautifully. Because he's prepared you for it, but he's also prepared it for you. And sometimes you don't know. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you start something and you think that's it, and then you realize that it wasn't. And that's okay. That's okay. And then you pray, and then maybe somebody gives you that phone call again. And it's the next thing. I think this verse sums up, best of anything, what I've learned from you guys, from all of you, and not just the seniors, but from all of you that I've had the privilege to know, being a part of the youth ministry here. So thank you for teaching me so many things, and thank you for being a part of our lives. For all of you, there's a card in your bulletin. Pastor Jeremy's been talking a lot the last few weeks about the next steps. So there's a couple things we want you to do. First, please make sure you fill out your name and some contact information there. The church is not going to spam you, I promise. Even if you're a visitor and you think, well, I don't really want them to call me all the time, they'll reach out. If you put your email there, you'll get an email. You're not going to get an email every day or anything silly like that. Okay? But please put your contact information there. And then there's a place on that card for you to maybe identify what might be one little next step for you. One of them, the first one, a really easy one. This is an easy step to take. You can contact Margene. Margene's here. We are so thankful because Margene has organized our team of volunteers to provide food for us every week at youth group. As much as we love pizza, and we've all enjoyed pizza, it got a little old when we had pizza every single week. And Margene has been key, that's your person. If you think, I could make sloppy joes for a bunch of people, or whatever it is you like to make, or maybe you and some friends want to get together and provide some food for the youth group, contact Margene about doing that. The next one that you can check says, I will take a minute to ask one of our young people what they're doing, what they're up to. And this kind of goes back to what I said about how if you grumble about teenagers today, if that's you, if you've ever heard yourself grumble about what you think kids might be like, then I'm asking you to check mark this and to take this seriously. I'm asking you to take 1 minute sometime here in church or somewhere else, approach somebody that is in high school or middle school and ask them a question. It could feel awkward for a minute. That's okay. My life would be empty without awkward moments. Seriously, you'll be fine. Awkward moments are all right. They're not the worst thing in the world. Take 2 seconds. Ask them what they do, what they like. You might be really surprised. Ask them if they come to youth group. Ask them what their favorite part is. Take 2 minutes and do it. And then you won't be one of those people that doesn't know any kids today. Okay? We always need more prayers, don't we? So you can check mark there that you would be willing to pray for our youth ministry. And the other thing is maybe you've been asking what the next place is for you to get involved. So if you think that stepping into a leadership role and getting the amazing privilege of hanging out with these kids on a weekly basis is something you'd be interested in, then check mark that last box that you are willing to ask about volunteering with our youth or our middle school or our high school youth ministries. That's all I have.
Kim, could I ask you to come back up here, please? As some of you know, this is probably, now that she's finished this PowerPoint and this message today, this was Kim's last official act as the youth leader here at Community United Methodist Church. He talks about all the youth that have influenced her, and probably well over 100, maybe close to 200 youth have come through our youth group and our ASP teams over the last 8 years. And this is a tough job, but I've asked Grace, and Grace has consented to come up and represent those 200 people with a message for you.
We all decided to. Because, Kim, you've touched all of our lives from the moment we walked through the doors, and there's some people who are graduating, there's some people who aren't graduating who have come just a couple times, but it still touched their lives so much, even if they came to youth group just a couple times. And we'll just go down the line and say maybe something that Kim taught us or some memory we have. But we were at Family Promise serving for homeless families at the church over at the Lutheran church. And we had dinner, we cooked dinner, and we had dinner with them. And then there's dishes and stuff in the kitchen to clean up. But then there were little babies, right? And we all went over to the gym. We're playing with the kids, and we're shooting basketballs, and I'm playing with the babies. And then I look in the kitchen, and I hear, like, Caleb's over there, like, washing the dishes. And I was like, oh, Kim, like, I feel so bad. I'm not washing the dishes. And she looked at me, and she paused for a second, and she said, this is important, too. And that's the biggest thing that Kim has taught me, is that connecting with people and loving people is almost more important, or more important than washing the dishes after the dinner. And through ASP and through youth group and what she talked about earlier about when we just sit down and have dinner, and it doesn't seem like a big thing at youth group, but we just talk with each other and connect with each other, and she's taught me that that's the biggest thing that you can do in life.
I know we talk a lot about ASP here, but my very first year of ASP, I was invited by Grace, and that first year, I was on an all-girls team, the very first of its kind from our group, an all-girls team, and Kim was one of the leaders of that, and Kim helped me conquer, well, first, helped me conquer my discomfort, not a fear, discomfort with ladders. And we did some roofing projects. But then she also helped me step into the youth group, kind of almost like officially, and went through all of the introductions, and then we met the people from Westwood, and Kim helped me. She was right by my side, showing me the ropes and helping me meet everybody there too. So.
Throughout my years being a part of youth group and being a part of this church, I had the privilege of watching Kim's children throughout many summers and many nights. Nicholas is back there, he remembers. So, and through watching her children and loving her children, I kind of became one of her children as well. And I always knew that I could come to Kim as almost a second mom. I could start any conversation, no matter what it was about, whatever I was struggling with. I could go to her about it, and I'm forever grateful for that. Thank you, Kim.
So when I started youth group, I was going through a lot, and Kim was always there for me. And when my first year on ASP was also an all-girls team, and Emma invited me to go. And Kim was that all-girls team leader. And throughout that time, when we first got there, I know our homeowner was like, oh, great, a team of girls. And throughout that week, we kind of showed him that just because we're girls doesn't mean we couldn't, do the tasks. And I think Kim was a big part of teaching not only me, but the other girls that, no matter what other people say about you, you can conquer it.
Kim has always brought a very positive attitude to everything. She's always been very group-oriented. She's always been there for me, everything that I've gone through. She's always made youth group fun and very interesting, very upbeat. She's just all around a great leader and somebody who I really look up to. As in other words, if I want to be a leader, I want to be like Kim and be very group-oriented and find positivity in everything. So thank you for that, and thank you for everything.
So if you didn't notice, I brought Emma, and then Emma brought Lauren, and then Lauren brought people. But it would have never started if Kim didn't find me riding on my bike to Vacation Bible School or something like that. And she's like, aren't you going to be old enough to go to youth group? And I was like, oh, what's really a youth group? And then she was like, well, I lead it, and you're coming. So it would have never started, and we wouldn't be here right now standing up in front of you. So it just shows you the amazing impact that each one of us has, and the chain effect that it has over the world around us. And that's what Kim always does for us, and she encourages us in everything that we do. And so we're encouraging her as she leaves us on her next step, and we'll forever remember all of our time here at youth group and all of. So from all of us, we love you, Kim.
I'd like to invite the praise band to come on up. I want to just a real short story. The Zielinski family has been a very important part of my life for the last 8 years. Nicholas, absolutely, you buddy. Kim and I, my wife Kim and I, visited this church 10 years ago, and we visited for 3 weeks, and we liked it. We thought it was going to work out. And then we were out visiting other churches, and we got this email from the Zielinski family saying, hey, come on back. We missed you. So just like you expressed, Kim brought me to this church. Kim and Nick and their family kept me connected to this church, and I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And before we close with our final song, I'd also like to say thank you to Matt Vandervelde, who has led this service for the last 4 or 5 years, and for Nick Zielinski and Kim, who have been a faithful part of this praise band. Thank you so much for everything that you've brought to us. And So I think in honoring that, stand up and let's sing out loud with these guys, because this was the closing song.
I can see the promised land, though there's pain within the plan. There is victory in the end. Your love is my battle cry. When my fears like Jericho build their walls around my soul, when my heart is overthrown, your love is my battle cry, the anthem for all my life. Every giant will fall, the mountains will move, every chain of the past you've broken into, over fear, over lies. We're singing the truth that nothing is impossible with you. There is hope within the fight, in the wars that wage inside. Though the shadows steal the light, your love is my battle cry, the anthem for all my life. Every giant will fall, the mountains will move, every chain of the past you've broken into, over fear, over lies. We're singing the truth that nothing is impossible. Every giant will fall, the mountains will move, every chain of the past you've broken into, over fear, over lies. We're singing the truth that nothing is impossible with you. No greater name, no higher name, no stronger name than Jesus. You overcame, broke every chain, forever reign, King Jesus. No greater name, no higher name, no stronger name than Jesus. You overcame, broke every chain, forever reign, King Jesus. Every giant will fall, the mountains will move, every chain of the past you've broken into, over fear, over lies. We're singing the truth that nothing is impossible. Every giant will fall, the mountains will move, every chain of the past you've broken into, over fear, over lies. We're singing the truth that nothing is impossible with you. Oh, nothing is impossible. Amen. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Congratulations, graduates. Have a wonderful last week of school. All right. And in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, have a wonderful week in the name of Christ. Amen.